Yes, people, you know the face, you know the name. Aaron here, back again with another video. Shout out to everyone tuning in, showing love and support. I appreciate you guys each and every single time. I didn't manage to get a Manchester City review or reaction in because I went straight to bed. And if I'm honest, I kind of fell asleep during parts of the second half. I couldn't manage to stay awake. So, you know, you guys know me. I can't be talking about a game that I didn't watch fully. So I'd rather be honest with myself, first of all, and honest with you guys. But yeah, I appreciate you guys' support each and every time. So yeah, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment, all of that good stuff if you're new to the channel. And yeah, even if you are not new, keep doing these things and you're helping the channel massively as per usual when you do these things. So make sure you keep them up, keep the likes up. A video on Man United. It's been a minute. It's been a minute. Obviously, the Club World Cup's been taking up all of my time, so I haven't really had the time to talk about it properly. But here we are. And I think we have a problem, people. I think we may have a problem. And the problems lie in the sales that Man United have to make. As you know, Mateus Cunha has already joined the club. Brian Bumo is on the way. I believe that's going to get done. I believe that's going to get done very soon. But apparently after those two purchases, sales have to happen. After those two purchases, sales have to happen. And I'm afraid that some of these sales might not happen, if I'm honest. Of course, I'm talking about Marcus Rashford, Anthony, Jadon Sancho, and Alejandro Garnacho. Now, we're going to talk about each player individually and break it down. Starting with Anthony, because for me, that's the easiest case. Yes, Anthony may have not worked out at Man United, and I think, you know, players go to clubs and it doesn't work out. It happens all the time. But what I do respect about Anthony, he was on big wages at the club, but he's willing to take, according to reports, a wage cut to leave the club, right? And apparently it's a 30% wage cut, which for me, if you're willing to take a wage cut anyway to leave the club and to make it possible, to make the sale possible, I respect you, man. You know, he definitely wants to, or visibly wants to go back to Real Betis, where he had an incredible 6 months. You have to be honest. Went to the Conference League final, scored lots of goals in La Liga, decisive goals in La Liga, wonderful goals in La Liga, I have to say. And he's been very instrumental in Real Betis finishing in the Europa League places because they're going to play Europa League next season. So this is someone who, yes, may understand and may know that he's not good enough for Man United or good enough to play in the Premier League, but he's actively willing to make things happen to smoothen the sell of himself from the Premier League, from Man United to another club by taking that wage cut. I fully respect that. Now, yes, Manchester United are going to have to take a massive loss because they did spend a lot of money on him, but I respect that. I fully respect it, which is why I started with Anthony, because for me, that's the easiest case, I would say. I don't think there's any history with discipline or disciplinary actions. No, I don't think there's any issues with that. So that's the first case done. Now we get to the difficult cases. And I'm going to start with Jadon Sancho. And I was a big fan of Jadon Sancho, obviously, before he came to the club. Man United chased him for 2 years. And when it finally happened, I was like, I remember making a video. I remember it very clearly. I said, we may have a winger for the next 10 years. That's how gassed I was. Now, this does not mean that I don't rate him as a footballer. I think he's a great footballer. I think he's got a unique skill set that's lost in football. A lot of people accuse him of, you know, not wanting to take a shot. Oh, just shoot. No, like sometimes in the way he plays, there's a lot of patience. There's a lot of thinking that he does. But that thinking that he does in the final third kind of hinders him as well, because in the final third, he's not as decisive as he should be, because at Dortmund, he was extremely decisive in the final third. But as soon as he came to the Premier League, it all just changed. When he went back to Dortmund on loan, he was decisive again in the final third. But then he came back to the Premier League, went on loan to Chelsea, and I think it's safe to say, even Chelsea fans will tell you, it wasn't the best loan spell at Chelsea. It wasn't the best of loan spells. Chelsea, I believe I'm pretty sure it was an obligation to buy, but Chelsea paid Manchester United money to not activate or to not have that obligation to buy it, which was in the contract. So that was a very strange situation there, but these things should ring alarm bells. Alarm bells should be ringing. That's a red flag for me. Come on, like, as much as I like Sancho as a player, no. From the moment a club that you're on loan at with an obligation to buy pays money to the club that you came from not to sign you on a permanent, red flags. Red flags. And on top of that, there's, all of the reports coming out about the wage demands. Now, and I'm not trying to be hypocritical here because I did talk about this with some of my friends a couple of days ago. And I said, with the amount of games that footballers are playing nowadays, and yes, because I referenced Victor Osimhen and his wage demands and etc. etc. I'll be honest, with the amount of games that footballers are playing, yes, I love to watch loads of football because for me, that means I get to watch a lot of football, I get to learn, and of course I get to create content about it. But they do play a lot of games. Do you know what I mean? However, with the amount of games that footballers are playing nowadays, especially at the top level, I'm not mad at some of these guys asking for the wages that they're asking for because essentially they're trying to say, listen, I'm going to give my time. I'm going to give all of my effort, all of everything of me for this club, depending on who you play for. I'm not going to be seeing my family as much. I'm not going to be seeing, some have wives and kids. They're not going to be seeing them as much because they're always traveling around with the team, especially if you play European competitions. You barely see your family. If you're married, you barely see your wife. If you've got kids, you barely see your kids. So I get some of the wage demands that players are asking. However, again, the performances have to match the wage demands. Napoli, according to reports, were seemingly interested in signing Jadon Sancho. And De Laurentiis himself had to come out and say something along the lines of, we are not going to budge to the wage demands, or what was it again? I have to find the real quote, people. Apologies. Because I don't want to chat nonsense. Sancho, Napoli. I want to read the exact quote. There it is. So the exact quote, and it wasn't De Laurentiis, sorry. It was Giovanni Mana, Napoli sporting director, on Jadon Sancho. Our offer is very clear. We will not pay Sancho's requested salary. From the moment a club comes out publicly and says that about you, red flags. Big, big red flags. And now other clubs are looking at you and thinking, because other clubs may have been interested. They're now looking at this situation and going, oh, this is what he's asking for. Yeah, we're not signing him. So essentially, Jadon Sancho's shot himself in the foot. So again, this is probably going to be another loan spell. And he is, at this point, he has to take a wage cut. He can't go into any club and negotiate the salary that he wants anymore because he's tried it with Chelsea, failed. Tried it with Napoli, failed. So now he has to take a wage cut because otherwise he'll be rotting at Manchester United and he'll be in the reserves unless Ruben Amorim says, I want him in my squad. Because, they're going on pre-season tour in the US. Who knows? Jadon Sancho might be on that plane. We don't know. But if it's not the case and he's not lowering his wage demands because the performances have not been matching what he's demanding, he's done for. He's done. So that's a difficult case, man. That's a very difficult case. We move on to another case, and that's the case of Marcus Rashford. Now, I think I made a video, I did make a video when he left, when Amorim froze him out of the squad. From the moment that happened, I said, he has played his last game ever for Manchester United. Ever. Done. Marcus Rashford is never going to play for Man United again. Not a pre-season game, not a friendly, nothing. I believe Ruben Amorim has completely axed him from the squad. In fact, there was a report that I read that said that Sancho, Anthony, Rashford and Garnacho, excuse me, there was a report that I read that said that Sancho, Garnacho, Rashford and Anthony, all four of them are not going to be on a plane and they're going to be axed from the pre-season squad. That should tell you enough. That should tell you enough. Now, Marcus Rashford was, like I said, I think he's played his last game for Man United in that Europa League game against, was it Slavia Prague or something? What was that game that we played away? Slavia Prague? It has to be Slavia Prague or something. Either way, his last game ever for Man United was that Europa League game where he got subbed off in the 53rd or 54th minute. I don't think Amorim is a fan of him because of what happened off the field. I'm not going to get into off the field stuff. I'm going to keep it to the football stuff with Rashford because we'll get to the last one in a minute where we have to address the off the field stuff. It's just not going to work out anymore. And like I always said with Rashford, every love story has an end. And this is the end of the love story between Marcus Rashford and Man United. He recently came out in an interview with YouTubers. I think the YouTuber's name is Xbuyer, if I'm not wrong. And he came out and said that he wanted to play. Sorry, they asked him, would you like to play with Lamine Yamal? He said, who doesn't want to play with the best of the best? Which is a fair point. I don't think the quote really means anything. And anyone that takes this quote and sensationalizes it, you're just taking it out of context. Like, this is something that Ahmad would have said. This is something that everyone would have said. Of course, who doesn't want to play with Lamine Yamal? So I get it, you know. But it's essentially the fact that he's sitting down with Spanish YouTubers. He's in Spain. There's reports that he wants to go to Barcelona. Like, it just feels a bit like desperation. And on top of that, he's mentioning that, you know, he's used to playing number 9 now. He's looking up to Thierry Henry. Even though, in my opinion, there are absolutely no similarities between Marcus Rashford and Thierry Henry in terms of the number 9 centre-forward position. Thierry Henry was absolutely elite in that position. There's a reason why he's the best player ever in the Premier League. So, for Rashford to mention him was a bit funny. It was a bit funny because if you just keep it to footballing terms, he doesn't have the movement of a number 9. His back-to-goal play isn't the greatest. He loves to drift off to the left. His dribbling skills are not the best. He runs into dark alleys. So the similarities between him and Thierry Henry are pretty much non-existent. But anyway, that's for you guys to decide. Everybody's got a different opinion on that. So I think that might be difficult because he's got high wage demands as well. And he wants, or at least he thinks that he should be going to a top club. Which I don't think that's the case. I think in a situation like this, he should humble himself and think about playing football. Forget about the prestige. Forget about wanting to go to Barcelona. Forget about wanting to go to X, Y, and Z, top club here, top club there. Think about playing football first and foremost. Get minutes. I'm sure he's fit, but get minutes because he hasn't played much football. Even at Villa, he was in and out of team. He was in and out the team. He wasn't a guaranteed starter. So I think the first thought for Rashford should be to think about playing football first and foremost. Wherever that is, even if it's at an Everton or something like that, play. Just play. Forget about the prestige. You're 27 now. Just play. You want to go to the World Cup. This might be one of your last chances. Play. Get minutes. That's what matters right now. So yeah. That's another difficult case. And the last one, I mean, I saw the picture. Of course I saw the picture. And I talked about it with my friends in the group chat. All I'm going to say is this about Alejandro Garnacho. That was very intentional, by the way. If you didn't know, now you know. It was very intentional. That was done on purpose. No two ways about it. I see people trying to compare it to Elanga wearing the Semenyo shirt from Bournemouth. First and foremost, leave Elanga out of this. He's not even at the club anymore. But then people want to talk about Amad Diallo. Well, Amad Diallo wore wore a Brighton shirt with Adingra on the back. Adingra and Ahmad play for Ivory Coast together. So they're teammates, first and foremost. Alejandro Garnacho wore a Villa shirt of Marcus Rashford, whose loan spell is ending officially in 7 days at Villa. So technically speaking, he doesn't even belong to them anymore. But officially on the books, he's there until the 30th. So you're wearing a shirt of a player you played at Man United with who is on loan at Aston Villa and whose loan spell is technically done. That was intentional. Obviously, there's the feud with Amorim telling him you better pray somebody buys you. All of that. That is a clear retaliation and that is a clear response from Garnacho to the football club, to the manager. He knows he's out the door. He knows it. But guess what? He's trying to make sure he leaves the club with his two fingers up at everyone, basically. He's trying to make sure of that. And if you don't believe me, I've got a little brother in it. He's 21, turning 22. That's my guy. That's my blood. I love him. But sometimes my brother has these reactions because he's of that generation. And people need to understand that these kids, yeah, these new Gen Z kids, yeah, they've got these reactions. When they're emotional, this is what they do. So there's no two ways about it for me. This was definitely intentional. He wanted people to see this. If you don't believe me, you just have to look at the track record. With the tweet stuff and liking tweets about someone slagging off your team, there's a track record. So this shouldn't even surprise people. It shouldn't. So again, this may put a spanner in the works in terms of trying to sell him because you're now showing your behavior in front of the whole world. When other clubs are trying to buy you, they might look at you and go, well, hold on. What's going to happen if he gets into a feud at this club? Is he going to do the same? So, again, you're shooting himself. He's shooting himself in the foot with that one, if anything. Like, this can only be negative for himself. If he thinks he's bringing negativity on the club, not really. He's only going to bring negativity to his name, to his persona, to his character. You know, he very much strikes me as a person because of that incident with Amorim. If I go down, you go down with me. That's what it looks like. So I'm not surprised. So, yeah, that's why I said, people, we may have a problem in trying to sell these guys because apart from Anthony, I think we, to be fair, I do think Garnacho can be a sale. But the two others, Rashford and Sancho, that's going to be difficult. So we may have to look at another loan spell for Rancho. We may have to look at another loan spell for Sancho, and we may have to look at another loan spell for Rashford. Unfortunately, I think Anthony will get sold, and I think Garnacho will get sold. It may take some time, but I think they both get sold. But Sancho and Rashford, it will have to be loan deals again. And to be fair, Sancho has a year left on his deal. If he goes out on loan for a season, he leaves on a free, which would hurt Man United because we would have lost a lot of money because we did invest a lot to get him to the club in the first place. But at this point, it is what it is. We have to take L's because the mismanagement of players and the way we've been buying players left, right and centre for a lot of money and overpaying and stuff, we have to take those L's and build again. So, yeah. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, people. What are your thoughts on everything I just talked about? If you made it till the end of this video, let me see money emojis in the comments. I want to see money emojis, money emojis, money emojis. I don't care if it's pounds, dollars, euros, yens, money emojis in the comments. That's how I know you made it till the end. Anyway, people, road to 20K still. Like, share, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you soon. I'm out. Peace.